What is happening? Why do players keep getting injured? I mean, think about it. Just over 20 years ago, we would never see these types of injuries, and they were often career-ending. But now, we see a superstar get injured every other week and be taken off the pitch in a stretcher. And it gets worse with every passing day, and it seems like no one is doing anything about it. So I ask again, what is happening? Well, in this video, we will be discussing why these injuries are happening and how we can stop them. Well, before we get into that, we have to figure out what type of injuries are happening. Some of the most common injuries that we see nowadays are ACL and hamstrings. But a long time ago, we would never see these types of injuries. So what has changed within the last 20 years? For starters, players are playing far more games than they used to. For example, Jude Bellingham last season played 42 games. David Beckham in the 04-05 season played in 38 games. Now, that is only 4 more, but take a look at the minutes. David Beckham played a total of 3,111 minutes that season. Jude Bellingham played 500 more minutes at 3,644. That is a 13% increase. Not convinced? No problem. In the 18-19 season, Toni Kroos played 43 games and played 3,431 minutes. Valverde in the 23-24 season played 54 games and played 4,280 minutes. Rounded up, that would be a 25% increase. That is a big increase as he played over 850 more minutes that season. There are so many more examples. Rudiger last season played 48 games. Ramos in the 14-15 season played 42. Yaya Toure for City in the 11-12 season played 42 games. Rodri played 50. Playing all these games can lead to fatigue and lead to injury. Not to mention, this season has had a tournament that has been revamped and now will include more games, the coming Club World Cup. The tournament has recently changed. The tournament originally started at the quarterfinals, then the semis, and then the finals. In fact, the team that won the Champions League in that year would only play in the semis before moving on to the finals, as seen in the 2014 Club World Cup. But this year, FIFA revamped the tournament into a group system, similar to the Euros or the World Cup. A team will face the other 3 teams in their group before moving on to the round of 16, then the quarters, then the semis, and then the finals, before winning the trophy. That is so many more games than there used to be. To win in the previous format, you'd have to play 3 games, but now in this new format, that is doubled to 7. Also, the Champions League has a new format where you have to play 2 extra games in the group stage. This can all contribute to player fatigue, which can lead to injuries. Footballers have also gotten a lot more athletic in the past few years. Nowadays, the defenders have become bigger, better. Being strong enough to hold off a defender is much more important nowadays than it ever has been before. Managers are bringing more demands and want the players to be more diverse. Even goalkeepers are moving more than they used to, with the reintroduction of the sweeper-keeper role in the modern game. Managers want workhorses. They want players who can run for the entire 90. In fact, on average in 2010, footballers would run 10 kilometers or 6 miles in a 90. Nowadays, they run around 13 kilometers or 8 miles. This causes players to exert more force. This can lead to injury. Additionally, managers have developed more advanced training techniques to better train a player for the physicality of the sport. And while these advances are good for the competitiveness of the sport, it's having a commanding control on player health. Around 30 to 40% of injuries are during training. This is especially bad when you implement these tactics onto a team that isn't used to it. Let's take a look at Liverpool in the 15-16 season. At the beginning of the season, their manager was Brendan Rodgers. His style of play was very possession-based, and he wasn't a manager who demanded a whole lot of pressing. But this would all change with his sacking on October 4th, 2015, following a 1-1 draw against rivals Everton. They sat 10th in the table with just 1 win in their last 9 games. Following this, the board would appoint Borussia Dortmund manager Jurgen Klopp. Klopp's tactics were infamous for its high pressing when off the ball and its quick counterattacking on it. Klopp ball required the whole team to run up and down the pitch constantly for the full 90. The players were simply not trained to do this. This resulted in overexertion and injuries started stacking up. By the end of the season, they had over 35 injuries in total, far more than the injuries suffered 2 seasons prior. Eventually, though, after many years of injuries, the Liverpool team would adapt to this and become successful in Europe. Okay, so now we've talked about why these injuries are happening, but now we need to prevent them. But how do we do that? For starters, reducing the amount of games played in a season. This needs to be reduced in order for injuries to stop happening. Unfortunately, this is unlikely to happen. The reason for the rise in the amount of games is due to FIFA and UEFA's greed. With more players playing more games, that brings more TV revenue, more ticket spot, more merchandising, more everything. And so, FIFA are cranking up the number of games that are being played at the expense of player health. But there is a solution to this. Earlier this season, Rodri said in an interview that many footballers are getting ready to go on strike.
After playing so many games that the players will say, I don't want to be part of this, and they'll actually end up going on strike.
Yeah, I think we're close to that. And if it keeps this way, it will be a moment that we have no other option. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's something that worries us because we are the guys that suffer, so yeah.
Thibaut Courtois also came out and said this. Many other footballers are doing the same, like Koundé and Alisson. And it's not just the players. Jurgen Klopp, time and time again, has complained about the surplus of fixtures. Pep Guardiola and Ancelotti have also complained. Earlier this year, the labor union for footballers called FIFPro sent a legal claim against FIFA. They wanted to challenge their ruling about the expansion of the Club World Cup. They are also demanding that the current amount of games is lowered because players are very tired. FIFA so far have done nothing, so the players may strike. The big question is whether the strike will really happen. Not all players are on board with it. It's unlikely for now that we will see a strike, but it's not impossible for it to happen. If FIFA really does something, injuries are bound to decrease. But for now, the players are at a deadlock. The increasing frequency of injuries among footballers can be attributed to a combination of factors. The modern game demands greater intensity and physicality, while the congested match schedule leaves little room for recovery. Advances in training techniques, though beneficial, can sometimes lead to overexertion. Additionally, specialization in player roles can place unique stresses on the body. As such, addressing these factors is crucial for reducing injury rates and ensuring the long-term health of players in the sport. But what do you think about all of this? Let me know down in the comment section. While you're down there, leave a like. That would be greatly appreciated. But that's all for now.